Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Haribo.
We see you having great taste for Kīrtanam.
Kirtan just absorbs my consciousness completely.
Although we never had the fortune of personally meeting Prabhupada, but we saw his conviction through his purports.
But what I liked about Prabhupada, he connected the philosophy a lot. He spoke with such conviction, and there's no second consideration.
At our generation, that's what we could connect with.
The mood should be in the mood of service.
There is some envy or jealousy within our hearts.
But as Bhakti grows, weeds that grow along with the plant of Bhakti. I remember what Radhanath Swami Maharaj said, when you do something in Krishna consciousness and people recognize it and praise you, you should know you're in a dangerous position.
That criticism is product of the envy that we have towards them.
Even if we have that pride, we'll be able to get the association of devotees will be like a mirror.
To protect ourselves from all the distractions, deviations that could lead to more deviations.
That's why sādhu-saṅga is very important. It really helps to fine-tune your Krishna consciousness. Every devotee in Krishna consciousness should have friends.
I am very much pleased with your loving friendships. And whoever remembers you will also have loving friendships and bondings amongst themselves.
Be responsible for whatever you say and do.
That shows how much we value that relation.
Because by serving the Vaishnavas, that'll help you develop a taste for charity.
When we hear Harikatha in the association of devotees, definitely our own bhakti for Krishna will be nourished. Hare Krishna. Welcome to SADHU VARTA Podcast. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, Sukadeva Goswami says, he speaks about the most effective way of connecting with Krishna, especially in this Kali Yuga. Etan nirvidyamananam icchatam akuto bhayam yoginam nripanirnitam harer namanu kirtanam. He says that one who desires fearlessness in this material world must take shelter of the process of chanting the holy names of Lord Hari. Icchatam akuto bhayam. If you desire to be freed from all fears of this material existence, then Harer namanu Kīrtanam, chanting the names of Lord Hari is essential, and this conclusion has been ascertained by so many yogis, philosophers, scholars and pure devotees and Mahajans. Means chanting the holy names of Lord Hari. And yoginam nripanirnitam means great yogis and philosophers and scholars and pure devotees and exalted Mahajans have concluded this, that by chanting the holy names of the Supreme Lord, we get the ultimate fearlessness. Not just that, Bhagavatam also says, Titikshavaha karunikaha suhurdaha sarvadehinam ajata shatravaha shantaha sadhavaha sadhu-bhushanaha. Titikshavaha karunikaha. A devotee is very tolerant, very compassionate, very kind. Sadhavaha sadhu-bhushanaha. All these qualities of satisfaction, tolerance, humility, kindness, gratitude, compassion, these are the ornaments of a sadhu. And today we are going to meet one great devotee, exalted devotee, experienced devotee who has great taste for Harer namanu Kīrtanam. The way this devotee dances in Kirtans, sings the holy names of the Lord, especially in Guru Puja Kirtans, that mesmerizes everyone and inspires everyone to chant and dance. And he is none other than His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj. He is known for his taste in Kīrtanam, Harinam, and also hearing Harikatha, and also for his wonderful Vaishnava demeanor, and also cleanliness especially. Maharaj emphasizes so much on cleanliness, and not only external physical cleanliness, but also the internal cleanliness of completely being freed from any envy or any pride, complete humility. So Maharaj's humility, Maharaj's affection, encouraging demeanor, and his approachability. So all these qualities are very dear to all of us, and especially his taste for Kirtanam is unparalleled. He is very dear to the hearts of so many devotees across the globe, and he keeps coming to Govardhan Eco Village. It's our good fortune to hear him, see him on a regular basis, and he keeps traveling everywhere. He is into prison ministry also. He has the experience of speaking Krishna Katha even to prisoners. So today we are going to hear some of the realizations of His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj, and he is very gracious enough to accept this invitation to appear on the SADHU VARTA podcast and share his realizations for almost half century of devotional service. So let's not delay and let's hear from His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj and his realizations. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Very good.
Welcome to SADHU VARTA podcast.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, we see you having great taste for Kirtanam. So is that the favorite limb of pure devotional service for you? Can you please share your relationship with Kirtanam?
Kirtan just absorbs my consciousness completely. That in Bhagavatam, when I read, and just by the nature of Kirtan, it just takes you so completely into the sound vibration of Krishna's holy name that automatically you leave this material realm and you're experiencing transcendental happiness. Kirtan is susukam kartamavyayam. It's very joyful.
Maharaj, whenever we see you in Kirtan, you are very ecstatic. But do you have any memory of one particular ecstatic Kirtan, either led by Prabhupada or some devotee, where you felt so much of joy? Of course, you are joyful in every Kirtan, but years before, so do you have any such very memorable Kirtans, ecstatic Kirtans in some events?
Yeah, there's one particular Kirtan festival is one of my favorites, happens every year at the end of January, and that's the Radhadesh Mellows, where they invite some of the more prominent Kirtan leaders in ISKCON to take part. It's a 3-day festival. Started with 2 days, but expanded into 3. And those Kirtans were really the most memorable ones for me. There I have I guess everyone who takes part in Kirtan also has their favorite Kirtan singers. So I have my favorite Kirtan singers.
Would you like to reveal them, Maharaj?
Well, my favorite is Madhava Prabhu.
Okay.
His depth of absorption in the holy name and his absorption in the holy name extends itself for hours, because when he chants, he not only chants, but he's meditating on the holy name, and he's meditating, as he told me, on Krishna within the mind while he's chanting the holy name. So his kirtans are so sweet, so absorbing, and he's very expert at bringing the kirtan from one level gradually until it reaches a crescendo towards the end of the presentation. Mm-hmm. So there's one person who I love to hear kirtan from. And of course, Bharahari Prabhu is also one of my favorite kirtan singers, and there are many. I mean, these are just a few. Naranjan Swami also. I love his kirtans.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. And Maharaj, can you please share some of your experiences or learnings from His Divine Grace, S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada? Either from your close association with Prabhupada or some learnings that you have taken from his interactions in general or from his books, some of the topmost.
I can't say that I had so many personal experiences that left impressions upon me, except one. That I can remember when he came to New Vrindavan in the year 1976. I came to one of his lectures. He spoke on the recent release of the particular volume of Srimad Bhagavatam, was the 7th canto. and it was chapter 6, which is Prahlad Maharaj's instructions to his schoolmates, which is a very deep and continuous expression of philosophical teachings that come to the core of Krishna conscious practice. And so I remember one particular class that Prabhupada gave on one of those verses that was really astounding. And it was both humorous and at the same time very enlightening on how the conditioned soul becomes attracted and attached to the amenities of material life, particularly household life. One particular verse that Prabhupada spoke on that was very absorbing. But I can't really say that I can just select things when it comes to Prabhupada, because Prabhupada covers everything, and everything is interesting in relationship to whatever he's saying. And it's very, edifying in helping us to understand more deeper how to practice Krishna consciousness. But what Prabhupada's really expert at is what to avoid. He teaches us a lot, because he understood, and many of us were coming from a background of so many wrong ideas, wrong activities, wrong bad habits. So he emphasized, he connected the philosophy a lot to what you shouldn't do. The nescience, As he says, we have to have knowledge and nescience side by side. And Prabhupada gave equal time to both aspects of the philosophy. And that was necessary, especially dealing with us, the newly Western devotees who didn't know much about Vedic culture, Vedic philosophy, or even behavior or proper behavior. But what I liked about Prabhupada the most, and this is something that really stands out, he spoke with such conviction, you might say surety, and there's no second consideration. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you're his eternal servant. That's what he emphasized a lot. And it wasn't a matter of just conjecture, or maybe, perhaps, or there may be another consideration. No. Prabhupada spoke clearly and with great, as you say, surety. And it really reached you. It went into the heart. And you could feel the conviction combined with his purity of devotion made such a point that when you listen to Prabhupada, you were there in Bhagavatam.
Non-different from Vedic teachings.
Yeah.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much for highlighting that facet of Srila Prabhupada. Whatever he says with full conviction and full clarity, and his words are non-different from the teachings of scriptures. At our generation also, that's what we could connect with, although we never had the fortune of personally meeting Prabhupada and seeing him, but we saw his conviction through his purports.
Yeah. And one thing that he did regularly, and you can document this, is that whatever he spoke, he supported with verses from Scripture. He never just said things and then you were accepting it. He gave scriptural references. He backed everything up.
In his purports, we see Prabhupada quotes so many shlokas. Sometimes partially he quotes. Sometimes even if he doesn't quote a shloka, that statement is coming from some shloka somewhere.
Yeah.
It's very evident.
Yeah, and I'll even say certain things that are not referenceable, that you can't reference them, but he explains that this is what the acharyas say. So rather than saying the scriptures, he gives the acharyas as references, which is non-different than the scriptures, because they live according to scriptures. Because they also speak according to their realizations, and then they also establish principles in time that may not necessarily pattern exactly what says in the scriptures, but it has the essence of the same principles that are being mentioned in the scripture.
Maharaj, you also emphasized on how Prabhupada spoke about what to avoid in bhakti. Not only do's, but also don'ts.
Mm-hmm.
So based on your years of experience, decades of experience in practicing Krishna consciousness, can you please suggest some of the do's and don'ts, prescriptions and prohibitions in our personal practice of spiritual life, some things that we must absolutely avoid and some things which are non-negotiable we must adopt. So some of the top do's and top don'ts can you suggest for our personal practice, Maharaj?
He said, don't concoct. That's a general statement. Don't concoct. Try to understand through Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. You don't have to concoct your own ideas of what is being said in the scriptures or what is being said by the acharyas. You may paraphrase them and give your understanding, but it should be in line with what is being taught and not your own speculation. He never liked that. Yeah, Shruta Kirti Prabhu, Prabhupada's personal servant, made that point. And I've also heard in other sources also that Prabhupada would become quite like Nrsingadev when people deviated in the philosophy and were adamant that this is the way it is, So he would immediately shut that down. Because he knew that any deviation can lead to further deviations, and then pretty soon the essence is lost. The Prabhupada was very strict about that. Yeah, that's one thing he said. Another thing, on a personal level, he said the worst one is oversleeping. He said, because it wastes valuable time that could be used for one's spiritual benefit. And it also accelerates the other aspects. And sex desire and overeating also can be enhanced by too much sleeping. So that was a bombshell. I remember he dropped that on us in 1974. Before, he wasn't talking like that. But at one point he said that. So that's one thing we try to keep in mind, not to sleep too much.
Don't concoct, don't oversleep. Two main points.
Yeah, don't concoct, don't oversleep. And then in the general sense, we hear from Rupa Goswami and from Lord Chaitanya especially, don't criticize Vaishnavas. Don't criticize them. And that leads to an aparad, and aparad leads to a stalemate or a stagnation in one's Krishna consciousness, which, if it's not rectified, could lead to a fall down. He, especially Mahaprabhu, was very strong about that. Yeah. And Prabhupada also said, try to be a honeybee, not a fly.
Seek the essence.
Yeah.
Don't be distracted by the nonsense.
Yeah.
Yes. So don't concoct, don't speculate, don't oversleep, and don't criticize.
Criticize Vaishnavas.
Yes. And as about this criticism, like sometimes there is some envy or jealousy within our hearts when we are practicing sadhana bhakti. Or there could be some pride and superiority complex also in the heart. On one extreme there is pride, and another extreme there is envy. Here there is superiority complex, here there is inferiority complex. So how do we deal with these anarthas within our hearts while practicing bhakti, when we are seeing another devotee doing some service better than us, there is some kind of insecurity.
Chaitanya Charitamrita explains that as bhakti grows, sometimes there's weeds that grow along with the plant of bhakti, and they go simultaneously. So as one sometimes finds themselves becoming very much successful in the execution of bhakti, and other people are also noticing and speaking in the same way, a little pride could also manifest. I remember what Radhanath Swami Maharaj said. He says, when you do something in Krishna consciousness and people recognize it and praise you, you should know you're in a dangerous position. So I remember that as a signal that anytime that you have to be careful when that people want to, and it's natural to glorify devotees. But then again, one should not accept it as the quality of one's own character, but give give credit to the spiritual master, give credit to the association of Vaishnavas, give credit to others, because whatever we do is only a small part of the activity anyway. We learn that from Bhagavad Gita, that we are 1/5 of the activity of any activity. There are other factors that make up the activity, and without those other factors, especially super soul, to give the result, what are we? Nothing. So we depend on so much outside, we might say outside, references, energies, personalities, to make something complete that we may take the credit for. Because it seems like we are doing it, but actually we're just part of the activity.
Nimittamatram bhava.
That's a little dangerous then. So to becoming aware of that. And then one has to cultivate the mood, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu emphasizes. He says, wear that as an ornament in the execution of your devotionals, especially in the chanting of the holy names. So it's so important that we always try to cultivate these moods. But again, there is that we forget due to situations like that. And we forget, and we have a tendency to. But when we start criticizing others or thinking we're better than others, then that means we're not taking proper care to understand our actual position. We're allowing all of these things to give us this understanding or misunderstanding that, I'm advanced. And other people are not as advanced as I am, but I'm advanced. So then you start committing offenses, or you start minimizing the importance of other devotees.
Yeah, that criticism is basically a product of the envy that we have towards them, or pride that we have in our own activities.
Pride is very subtle. It's hard to see sometimes. That's why if we take nice association with devotees, even if we have that pride, we'll be able to get the association of devotees will be like a mirror. That we can, gauge our own Krishna consciousness in. When we don't take enough or proper association, we can easily fall victim to these more subtle types of contamination, not be aware of it. That's why sādhu-saṅga is very important.
Yes,
on a regular basis. Yeah. I unfortunately, grihastas many times because of their responsibilities don't take enough association because they also are encumbered with family affairs and occupational responsibilities. So. And they also fall victim to what we say. They lose enthusiasm in Krishna consciousness because of not taking proper association. That's a little bit on the side, but anyway.
Recently in the Vyasa Puja ceremony that we got the fortune to participate in, we could see devotees are glorifying you, appreciating you, but you are humbly giving that glorification back to them. We are appreciating the devotees who appeared there. So as you said, just pass on the credit. We are nothing. That's a very wonderful lesson.
I learned that from some of my senior godbrothers. They would do that also. So I thought, yeah.
Also, Maharaj, in what you have mentioned in the last few minutes, you also emphasized that for us to protect ourselves from all the distractions, deviations that could lead to more deviations, and also pride and envy, we need sadhu-saṅga. We need association of devotees. And you also mentioned that I also got inspiration to pass on the credits by seeing other devotees. So you emphasized on the importance of sadhu-saṅga, association of devotees. Now, can you please throw a little more light on how our bhakti is nourished in the association of devotees? As Kapil Dev says, Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkarna rasayana katha.
Yeah.
When we hear Harikatha in the association of devotees, definitely our own bhakti for Krishna will be nourished.
Right.
But we will also be protected from these subtle anarthas like pride, envy, because they show us the mirror of our own consciousness. They can give some candid feedback. So based on your decades of experience, can you throw a little more light on the importance of association?
Having heard from other senior devotees and also from the Bhagavatam, it's the mood should be in the mood of service in that association. And then Bhagavatam explains that in different levels of relationships, we serve in a different way. Like for those who are more senior and more knowledgeable, we hear from them. And we also, if it's possible, take opportunities to do some personal service for them. That allows us to develop more humility. And for equals, we kind of like share Krishna consciousness. And then for those who are in a lesser position, we think of ways to bring them up. So there's that verse in the 4th canto, 8th chapter of Bhagavatam, very important for developing proper relationships. And that within the society of devotees, it's important because otherwise we get into this mentality that I am the enjoyer. But if we're in a mood of service, then we can overcome that. The idea is to be in the mood of service. How can I serve? And I learned that a lot from especially from Lord and Swami, who exemplifies that mood. He's always in the mood of service. And it's like 24/7 when you observe his activities. So having a lot of his association and seeing how he would behave and also how he would preach, I try to imbibe some of that also. Although I'm not, perfect at it or even near perfect, still those qualities are very attractive.
That's your humility, Maharaj. Maharaj, you mentioned about your close association with His Holiness Radhana Swami Maharaj, and definitely must be having a lot of devotee friends amongst Prabhupada's disciples and all. Would you like to share some of your sweet memories of loving exchanges of sādhu-saṅga with some of your friends at your level?
Well, I take the opportunity to associate with senior devotees when I'm in Mayapur. That opportunity is given. So Shivaram Maharaj and Niranjan Swami Maharaj and Devamrit Swami Maharaj are all there. So many times we all come together for lunch together. And I'm just there listening, trying to learn from what they're speaking about. So I'm just kind of trying to grab the nectar. But in that association, it's so edifying. And so, and you also, you try to present your best Krishna conscious side. You're very, very, like you're very careful on how you speak and how you respond and everything like that. And it really helps to fine-tune your Krishna consciousness, that type of association. And it's enjoyable too, just to have that kind of association. And it's not always easily available, but when it is, try to take advantage of it.
Whereas in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we see that these 10 prachetas, the sons of Prachina Barhi, they did 10,000 years of austerities, chanting Rudra Gita under waters. Lord Vishnu came in front of them and said, I am very much pleased with your loving friendships, loving relationships. And whoever remembers you will also have loving friendships and bondings amongst themselves.
Now it's in a later verse.
Later verse, he says. So now the Lord is pleased when devotees love each other, care for each other, are friendly with each other. So you are also mentioning how when all your God brothers come together, a lot of loving exchanges, and you also feel nourished there. The best aspect of Krishna consciousness will come out when we are in such sanghas.
Yeah, this is required. Every devotee in Krishna consciousness, no matter what ashram they have, should have friends. Devotees they can talk to They can share their struggles. They can share their, realizations with, just to be. Friendship amongst devotees, as Lord Vishnu says, is very pleasing to the Supreme Lord Himself. That means it's very, very beneficial for the devotees to take advantage of taking the opportunities to be with devotees, and maybe in a less formal way. That means outside of organized service, but just to share Krishna consciousness together. And you learn so much in that too. And you also learn about yourself, what you need to do. Sometimes you get that becomes easy to understand. And there's a happiness in that is very satisfying.
What are the most important elements to keep our Vaishnava friendships going? As Rupa Goswami says, Dadati Pratigrihnati Guhyamakhyati Pritchati. Apart from that, from your realizations, can anything? So what keeps Vaishnava friendships intact for decades? Because you have been very close to many devotees for several decades.
Be responsible for whatever you say and do. Sometimes when we get a little bit too friendly with each other, we may also say things or make promises and then find ourselves not keeping them. And then a trust is somewhat breached. This is something that disturbs me a little bit when devotees say, yes, I'm going to do this, and without further notice of any change, it now doesn't manifest. So I think we should be true to our word, and if there's some extenuating circumstances that arises before we can have to carry out our word, we should make that known and not just forget it and not just not do it.
Being responsible for what we say.
Yeah. I mean, especially when you're talking to others and you make some promise that I'll do this, I'm going to something. If there's something that you say that is serious, not about Krishna consciousness, about your relationship with that devotee.
That shows how much we value that relation.
Yeah.
How much are we serious about?
I think that's the most disturbing thing, is when people make a promise and don't fulfill it. And not even say anything in the meantime of why they didn't fulfill it. Just let it go.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Maharaj, also, now we went in certain flow based on whatever you have shared. I had some follow-up questions and I asked. So there's one more topic. We have heard a lot about your emphasis on cleanliness, to be clean. So can you please share a few more thoughts about the importance of cleanliness in our devotional service, keeping our room clean, temple clean, ashram clean?
Let me start off with a negative. And this is in Bhagavatam. You're probably familiar with it. It's in the 12th canto, 3rd chapter. I'm not sure of the exact verse. But it says in each of the 4 ashrams, there's a defect in Kali Yuga. And it mentions that in sannyas ashram, the defect is sannyas they'll keep wealth. The renounced order will keep wealth. And in the vanaprastha ashram, the defect is they'll fail to go to the forest. Of course, that's relative to time, place, and circumstance, but that's what Bhagavatam says. For grihastas, they'll fail to give in charity. And for brahmacharis, they're unclean. So Prabhupada has even had some experiences by roaming around different ashram temples and finding that this is actually, what the Bhagavatam says. So Prabhupada was very, very particular with cleanliness too. Not only cleanliness, but organizational cleanliness, where everything has a place to be in. Like that. Not only clean, but everything if you have a place, everything should be in its place.
Everything has a place and everything is in its place.
And should be clean. And Prabhupada is talking strongly, so I got a lot of my inspiration from Prabhupada's statements. But when you're clean, it's easier to do things. You don't lose things either. Sometimes you can't find things because things are so unorganized, they're unclean. And out of the 9 Brahminical qualities mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, 2 are outstanding. Truthfulness and cleanliness. Saucham and Satyam. Were given emphasis out of the 9.
These are 2 of the pillars of dharma also. Satyam, Daya, Tapasya.
Yeah. Right out of the 4 pillars too. Yeah. So, yeah, I think there's no excuse for it. And there's some devotees, they just haven't been trained in that, and don't see the necessity of being so precise in cleanliness. They may be clean on a personal level, but maybe on the external level, in the environment, it's not so much. Things are not really organized or thrown this way or that way. So, yeah, this is quite, what we say, it's a little disturbing and Prabhupada used to tell us, if you come into a place that's dirty and you leave it the same way, that means your consciousness is of the same nature. Is that you should make a difference when you come.
Yes. So, on that note, can we just go back to 70s or 80s before our birth? Basically, in your days as a brahmachari, so do you have some sweet memories? Would you like to share some of your memories as brahmachari?
In New Vrindavan?
Vrindavan.
Well, I don't know how sweet they were. But we were encouraged in a very direct way, in a very continuous way, to build New Vrindavan, to make it a place that Srila Prabhupada would be really proud of. And the leader in New Vrindavan was also getting regular statements from Prabhupada. Build New Vrindavan, make it a place of pilgrimage in the Western world. So we worked, we might say. We didn't have much time for study outside of going to Bhagavatam class. So we were mostly engaged in activities, building the community buildings and creating the environment for cows and for buildings and for vehicles and for guest facilities. We were doing a lot of that work. That was the main thing. I was mostly involved in deity worship. I was involved with being the cook for the brahmacharis in the brahmachari ashram. We had a brahmachari ashram that was separate in location from the rest of the community. So I was there. So I spent a lot of time away from the rest of the community. And most of my time was cooking like that, and spending long hours in the kitchen. So how memorable those days are. I mean, it was nice that when we could serve the Lord in that service, that was very satisfying. But it was difficult because, the amenities that we needed weren't always available. There was a lot of shortages on personal things that we needed to do, to make our service easier, more, what we say, doable. Sweet memories. I guess the sweetest memories were our Kirtans. That's what I can remember. We had some pretty, what we say, powerful Kirtans like that. A lot of our memories were somewhat humorous.
Yes, Maharaj.
Because they just didn't fit into the scheme of things. How ridiculous we were in some of our activities, which also was somewhat humorous, So I guess the sweetest memory I can, on a personal level, is that we were building Srila Prabhupada's palace, and it was a distance away from the brahmachari ashram. The devotees who stayed there, they were all brahmacharis, they would leave right after breakfast in the morning and stayed throughout the whole day and returned in the evening for services and taking rest, but they would work at the palace the whole day. So during the day we had deities, and there was we had Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, we had Gauranga, we had Radha Krishna deities. So there was 3 of us that would stay there all day. There would be the pujari, the cook, and the woodcutter, because we did everything. We heated by wood, we cooked by wood. So these are the 3 of us. And we usually took lunch together. And that was our only association, each other. And so the pujari at that time was Radhanath Swami. And he had just come back from India recently, after being in India for many years. And he was always talking about his experiences in India. So I was learning about India and also about his experiences from India every day. And that would be the subject matter of our lunch. We would come together for lunch, and he would always be talking about India. And many of those same stories that he spoke, his personal stories, later became the book, The Journey Home. And what you read in The Journey Home is only a small part of what he actually experienced. Because
that you could hear all of them.
I heard many that weren't written in the book, because he told me later that the book, they didn't want to make it such a big size. So he just took the essence. And so that was the sweetest time to listen to Maharaj's experiences in India, and how much he loved India, and how much we learned about Krishna consciousness from his experiences in India, because we didn't know much about Krishna consciousness, the philosophy, the practice.
Yes, man. And now, Maharaj, you are also traveling a lot in different countries. So can you please share some of your realizations of your travels, either interacting with devotees or seeing very beautiful deities everywhere, or different cultures, local cultures, and how devotees are trying to practice Krishna consciousness in such variegated backgrounds. Can you please share some of your topmost realizations during your travels, Maharaj?
I think my realization is to appreciate Krishna consciousness. I also speak to devotees who don't travel. And when they finally find some opportunity to travel, they have a whole eye-opening experience of what Krishna consciousness is. So that was something I was fortunate to be able to see Krishna consciousness in practice in different countries around the world, the way devotees lived, how they interacted, and their worship like that. And to take part and to be somewhat in the mood of preaching means doing in the mood of trying to serve the particular situation. It was interesting to meet I think the most important thing was that to meet the devotees and to interact with devotees, this was the most satisfying thing, just to learn about each other in Krishna consciousness, what they were doing, what they were experiencing, the problems we had, especially in the old days. It was mostly dealing with difficulties. But there were many sweet moments also. One time we were on a radio show during a drought in the United States, in one section of the Midwest of the United States. And we had gone there. There was 5 of us coming from New Vrindavan. And I had known the radio announcer. He liked us. He was also a lawyer who did our books, our legal work. And so he invited me on. And then the second time I came was during the drought, and I brought the devotees from New Vrindavan. And we got into discussing about the drought. And then he asked us if we could make it rain. He says, "Can you guys make it rain?" And we said, "Yeah."
Kirtan.
And there was a 3-month drought. It hadn't rained in 3 months. So he was quite shocked when we said yes. And then he started to say, "Well, you guys are going to be known as false prophets, speaking one thing and not coming through. We said, no, we can make it rain. And he said, how? He said, we're going to chant Hare Krishna. And this was a radio show that was quite popular. It was like, it covered 38 states out of the 51 states in America. And there were millions of people. It was a very popular talk show. So we encouraged, and he also helped us encourage the audience that were listening to chant with us. And so we said, if everybody chants, then it will rain.
He made them also chant.
Yeah. So, and then the announcer was encouraging the audience to chant with us during the time when we chanted for a few moments. The show ended. It was a 3-hour show. And there was, actually towards the end of the show, there was some clouds that came up in the sky. Just happened to come right around the end. And then the show ended. But after, in about 2 hours later, it rained for 3 days.
Which year was this, Maharaj?
This was in the year 1983 in America. 1983. It was a very difficult year for the country. There was droughts on one side. There were forest fires on the other side. There were food shortages in certain areas. It was a difficult time. It was also the coldest year in the winter time. Because we got credited for making it rain, the disc jockey was running the show. He went to the mayor of the city of Cincinnati, and they gave us an honorary award for making it rain. So, of course, one thing I should say is you don't use the holy name for some material benefit. That's not. The holy name is only for glorifying the Lord and purifying our consciousness. We did it just to get all these people to chant. So that was the motivation. We saw an opportunity to get thousands of people to chant.
Thank you. That's a wonderful experience that you have shared. Sankirtan Yajna causes rain. Also, Maharaj, you also teach Srimad Bhagavatam in these courses like Bhakti Vaibhava, Bhakti Vedanta. So can you please share some of your experiences of teaching Bhagavatam?
That's an ongoing process. I'm doing that daily. When COVID hit, we were at the lockdown, so we decided to start a regular online Shastra presentation. At first, I'd start doing important holy days and important personalities. But then I got into a systematic presentation of Bhagavatam, verse by verse, going through the Bhagavatam. So for 5 years, we've been doing that every day. And sometimes when I can't be there, there's other devotees who also do it. But mostly I'm there every day, so I'm trying to. And because of that, many people have become devotees. They actually come online, start getting interested in the Bhagavatam, and later they actually wanted to get involved in Krishna Consciousness and take initiation. So it's been a good preaching for them also, very good. It's been very good. But I've also done in Mayapur, with Mayapur Institute. I did Bhakti Vaibhava and Bhakti Vedanta also. And Bhakti Shastra also. So yeah, Mayapur Institute is encouraging devotees to come forward and take these courses. And it's in line with Srila Prabhupada's desire for educating our entire society.
Maharaj, can you please share some of your most inspiring role model kind of devotees around us?
Role model?
Whom you look up to and where you take inspiration from, apart from Srila Prabhupada, of course.
Well, I try to learned something from all my senior devotees and also from the devotees I associate with. My role model from the time I started was, of course, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, because we were there together in the Brahmachari ashram. He was there maybe a little less than a year before I started. And then we were mostly together in our services. So he was a role model not only for myself, but for other devotees who were coming. Because we could see that he had that quality that he understood Krishna consciousness. And so I learned a lot I'm still learning. And I take him as also my Shikshu Guru, along with being a god brother. Yeah. And there's others. My good friend who I joined with back in even before I became a devotee was Devamrit Swami. I love his classes, and every time we get a chance to be in the same place, we spend time together. And of course, Naranjan Swami is really one of my favorite devotees. His Vaishnava qualities are just exemplary. He exhibits all of the amazing qualities of the Vaishnava. So learned yet so humble. So learned yet so inclined to serve Vaishnavas. Really. Can't glorify him enough. He's so many outstanding qualities. But then I also have friends in Krishna consciousness who are not my god brothers, who I just meet, and just because of our similar services we do together, we become friends like that.
So Maharaj, any final message for all of us, a word of blessing based on your years of practice of Krishna consciousness, decades of practice? Do you have any suggestions or advice for all of us, Maharaj?
Lord Chaitanya put it really succinctly and perfectly. Chant the holy names and develop a taste for chanting. And how do you develop a taste for chanting? Serve the Vaishnavas. Because by serving the Vaishnavas, that'll help you develop a taste for chanting. And preach Krishna consciousness. And so, Nam Ruchi, Vaishnav Seva, Jiva Doya. This is the essence of our practice.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Very grateful to you for sharing so many lessons and lot of wisdom in such a short time. You spoke about what to avoid in bhakti, what to adopt in bhakti. You emphasized on the importance of taste for Kīrtanam, taking shelter of sādhu-saṅga, having some inspiring role models and friends in Krishna consciousness. On the other hand, you also shared about how to avoid criticism, oversleeping, overeating, and all those things.
One thing I could add, which I learned when I was a brahmachari, and I try to remember it. Use every moment to serve Krishna. Don't waste a moment. We were taught like that. Always be engaged in Krishna consciousness, and if you weren't doing any practical service, chant the holy names. Or read Bhagavatam, or read the books. In other words, every moment is precious. Every moment is meant to be used in that way. That's something that we were really, and New Vrindavan was like that. There wasn't any break in our schedule.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Avyartha kalatvam, not wasting time, single moment, and utilizing every moment in Krishna service. Very inspiring. It means a lot to us that you are sparing your valuable time for us and sharing your realizations from so many decades of practice. Very grateful to you, Maharaj. Seeking your blessings, and ever grateful to you for your encouragement and your blessings as always.
Thank you very much. It is a pleasure to be with you.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Thank you.